Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming back to Kashtira Zoodiac, it occurred to me as I was streaming, or about to stream yesterday, that I had not yet covered a Kashtira variant, I don't believe, since the Unicorn has gone down to only 2 copies with the recent semi-limit. So I decided to bring back my favorite variant of Kashtira, which is in fact going to be the Zoodiac variant, mostly because I just really like Zoodiac. And this was the case beforehand, but I think definitely even more so the case now that Unicorn is semi-limited. In all honesty, this is more of a Zoodiac deck than a Kashtira deck. By the way, I did also play this deck live on stream, so if you are interested in checking out the games from that, you can head down to the description there to twitch.tv/hexlexlive. Link is going to be again in the description. There I will have the VOD where we played all these duels live, as well as the ones that we're going to see for this deck profile. Also, I don't know if it'll be up quite yet, but I will also have the VOD available on my second YouTube channel, where I put all my stream VODs, as well as some other side gameplay that I do for games other than Master Duel. So again, if you're interested in either, definitely check out the description below for links to both my Twitch as well as the VOD channel. Also, we are streaming on Twitch every week again. We are back to stream schedules, which are going to be posted over on my Twitter. Again, linked below. But anyway, enough plugging. Let's talk about this deck a little bit. So, I think the main thing that I changed here, of course, aside from Unicorn going to 2, is I have since crafted a playset of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill for the Challenger Cup is why I made these. But now that I have these, definitely looking to include them in this deck too. Because we not only play the Dimension Shifter, but we are actually able to summon Kashtira Riseheart in this deck. Unlike a lot of other Kashtira variants, right, which don't go for the Riseheart or Era line, this deck actually does, because we're splashing also, in addition to our Unicorns, our Fenrir, Raitsoff, and Births, we're splashing 1 copy of each Riseheart and Theosis. And again, this variant of Kashtira, unlike pretty much every other one, can get away with splashing 1 of each of these, because Theosis, it's going to Xyz lock you, as well as, of course, the Riseheart in order to make their Xyz plays. But as you can see from our extra deck, this is, in fact, completely fine. We're only playing 1 non-Xyz monster, Donner, Dagger for Hire. Honestly, the Baron de Fleur should probably be in the extra deck too, because we, of course, not only have the Kashtiras, but a good amount of level 3 tuners as well, so I think that honestly this variant here does have not only the strength of being able to play the Kashtira package, but also unlike a lot of other Kashtira decks, which can very easily get stopped by any number of hand traps, namely Nibiru, right? We're not playing as much of a combo deck as we are a control deck, and that is definitely the best way to think about a deck like this, right? You're not going to be OTKing people with Kashtira Zoodiac. In fact, your games are pretty much always going to go, in my experience, like at least 3 or 4 turns with this deck. The only time where you might get a quicker win than that is if you happen to open the Riseheart plus Era, and then you're also able to throw in a Trident or UDF on top of that on turn 1. That's like your big explosive turn 1 play, and if I remember right, we will actually see a duel in which we do something like that. But, aside from an opening going first like that, really a lot of the time, you're just going to be 1-for-1 trading with your opponent's stuff, with Trident's pop, but also with your hand traps as well, right? So really making the most use of these. I mean, it's like any other control deck. And a lot of people, when they think of a control deck, right, they think of Labyrinth, or they think of Sky Striker. They think of these decks that will end up setting a lot of back rows and then using those to disrupt the opponent. Our deck is a little bit different, right? As you can see, we only have 3 Imperm as our only trap cards, and we don't really have, actually we don't have any quick play spells at all, not even Call by our Crossout. We don't need them in this kind of a deck. So we're not looking to respond and disrupt to our opponent. Rather, we're not looking to respond to and disrupt our opponent necessarily by flipping a bunch of back row, but again, by using these hand traps as well as stuff like Trident. Also, Zeus is huge in this deck for controlling. Obviously, Zoodiac can very easily pump out a 6 material Zeus, so a lot of the time going second, that's going to be your win con, right? You get in with the Borbo, make your 6 material Zeus, use 2 of the materials to board wipe if you need to, and then honestly, that Zeus, if you're playing well, should carry you through the rest of the duel to your win. Again, it's how this deck typically likes to play. Also, the reason I didn't touch upon this... Oh, no, I did talk about this, right? The reason to play Ghost Mourner and not Effect Veiler in this deck is, again, because of both Dimension Shifter and Arise Heart banishing cards. Veiler, Effect Veiler, as well as Droll Knockbird. These cards need to send to the graveyard to activate, but Mourner just has to be discarded. This, of course, Maxi also has to go to the graveyard, but this card is obviously way too good to not play, right? Despite that potential weakness there. So you could also play Veiler in this deck anyway. But if you have the Mourners, I think it's definitely better to play this card. On a couple of nibs, because this card is just good in this format. Also, Dimension Shifter. I kind of glossed over this, but the ability to play this card is another big reason to play this deck. Especially in a meta like this, where the graveyard ends up mattering a lot for a lot of different decks out there. Let's see, for the extra deck, you could also include the Megaclops. I know I've talked about this card in the past, the Infinitrack Fortress Megaclops. If you wanted to, instead of maybe something like Vespanado or Donner, as I touched upon, the Baron de Fleur probably should be in here. Honestly, probably over the Donner. Like, this card, I don't think I've ever made this card any of the times I've played Kashtira Zoodiac, right? Especially this deck, you know, it's like we already have Trident for popping. Third Trident, if you own a third, a Trident would also not be bad, but don't feel like you have to craft 3 Trident if you want to try this deck out and you don't have any at all. Like, I only have 2, and I think that's completely fine. Granted, there will be a lot of games that are very grindy where you will need the second Trident. I think 1 is too few, but you don't have to have 3. 2 will get you through, like, literally 99% of games, right? But yeah, again, being a controlled deck, you do often have to plan for the long game there. So, yeah, I think that's about pretty much everything I have to say about the build here. Let's break it down card by card, and then we'll watch some games. So we're on 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom, and a Joyous Spring, 3 Ghost Mourner and a Moonlit Chill, 1 Zoodiac Rat Pierre, 2 Zoodiac Whiptail, 3 Zoodiac Thoroughblade, 2 Zoodiac Ram, 1 Kashtira Riseheart, 2 Dimension Shifter, 1 Kashtira Fenrir, 2 Kashtira Unicorn, 2 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Kashtira Theosis, 1 Pressured Planet Raitsoth, 3 Fire Formation Tenki, 3 Zoodiac Barrage, 2 Kashtira Birth, and then 3 Infinite Impermanents. And that's going to do it for our main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 number F0 Utopic Future, 1 number F0 Utopic Draco Future. We've got 2 Zoodiac Tiger Mortar, 2 Zoodiac Trident, 1 Zoodiac Borbo, 1 Zoodiac Hammer Kong, 2 Zoodiac Shakanine, 1 Drill Driver Vespanado, 1 Kashtira Shangri-Ira, 1 Kashtira Ariseheart, 1 Divine Arsenal Awe, Zeus, Sky Thunder, and then 1 Donner Dagger for Hire. That'll do it for our list. Let's see some duels. Okay, so our first opponent is going to be on a Chimera deck. It'll be a pure Chimera deck, not actually even blending it with any other archetype. So, like I touched upon in the deck profile, this first game is going to show you what a more extensive combo line from this deck potentially looks like. If you open Unicorn plus like any Zoodiac monster, you are pretty much good to go, right? We can special the Unicorn and activate the effect to grab Kashtira Theosis. That'll let us special the Fenrir from deck. Fenrir effect is going to then add the Kashtira Riseheart. We get to use Riseheart's effect to special it here, and then overlay the Unicorn and the Fenrir in order to summon, of course, the Shangri-Ira in our extra monster zone. Now I'm going to Zoodiac Barrage. So my plan here, I did misplay this a little bit, and I want to talk about this. My plan here was to make the UDF, the Utopic Draco Future, right? Where is it? Here it is, on top of my Kashtira board. In order to do that, you need to have Zoodiac Ram in the graveyard, as well as a Zoodiac monster on the field. So I misremembered the effect of Rat Pierre. I thought I could send a Zoodiac card, whether I normal or special summoned this monster. What I really should have summoned was Thoroughblade. Then I could have discarded Ram, overlaid the Thoroughblade for Chakanine, right? Chakanine effect to bring back the Ram. Then from there, I would have activated, Trident, in order to destroy the Ram Ram. Ram Ram effects would have brought back the Chakanine. Then I could have overlaid for the F-Zero Utopic Draco, or Utopic Future, and then overlaid that into Utopic Draco Future, then continued my Kashtira plays. Again, here I did misplay by getting the Rapier, so I'm just going to go for my Kashtira plays first, because it doesn't really matter whether my cards get banished or go to the graveyard. But again, if you are going to do that Utopic Draco Future line, as well as the Kashtira setup, then you have to do it before Rise Heart hits the field, because you do need Ram Ram to go to the graveyard. So, again, because I misplayed, I'm going to end up on Trident as well as Era and a Rise Heart. So, a little bit worse. I think I would rather have the Utopic Draco Future instead, but at the same time, that is very weak to Triple Tactics talents, right? Because a Rise Heart is a mandatory effect, so if it activated, then my opponent could Triple Tactics talent, take the Utopic Draco Future, then use Utopic Draco Future to take the Rise Heart. I've actually done that against other people before, so. Anyway, opponent's going to try to go for some Chimera plays here. They're even chaining the Chimera Fusion to the Rise Heart and Unicorn Fs. I'm actually going to use my Dryad in response to the Chimera Fusion. If possible, I really like being able to disrupt opponent's fusion summons by destroying one of the material monsters on the field, because they might either not be able to resolve the fusion effect at all, or potentially go for a fusion monster they didn't want to. I don't know enough about Chimera to know if they wanted to make this particular fusion, but it is what they end up getting here. So we're going to use our Rise Heart and of course our Era effect. I'm going to keep blocking the main monster zones. Opponent is going to use the second Chimera Fusion. I anticipated that this one would probably end up being for the Guardian Chimera. This is totally fine because Polymerization is not in the graveyard. We can just use Infinite Permanence to negate it. And that'll pretty much be it for anything our opponent can do, because we can then remove the Guardian Chimera from the field altogether with Kashtira, Rise Heart. So yep, here's the Imperm. And should follow a Concede. Yeah, Concede following that, rather. So there you go. Again, it's a pretty standard game from Kashtira Zoodiac as far as, like, if you have a good turn one hand and you don't get interrupted. And again, it actually could have been debatably better. I could have made the Utopic Draco Future, although I do have to once again warn that making Utopic Draco Future alongside a Rise Heart does play extremely poorly into Triple Tactics talent. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. We're going to have a few more duels that are going to be much longer in turn count than just 2 games, or 2 turns rather. So let's go ahead and start diving into those. So this next duel that we're going to watch is against Unchained, and this, like I said, is going to be definitely longer than the last game we saw. This is an 8-turn game, so definitely not atypical of this deck, again, being more of a controlling deck. We're going to be going second here, and we did open the Dimension Shifter. Know that I didn't shotgun it, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I didn't. Sometimes your opponent won't even play enough for you to warrant using Dimension Shifter, but the main reason, the actual reason why I didn't just shotgun Shifter there is that I really like to, if possible, use Shifter in response to the opponent trying to send something to the graveyard to set up their plays. It can potentially be very devastating to their engine. But even against, like, Snake Eye, right? Let's say they open with the Diabell, or actually no, let's say they open normal summon Snake Eye Ash. You can wait to D-Shifter after they have committed that to the board, right? And then they won't be able to make their plays, and also they will have already used the Snake Eye Ash in their hand and be less likely to then therefore combo, right? Because they've already used their resources. It's also why I'm not as big a fan of shotgunning Max C during the draw phase, and rather chaining it not only to get draws off of a special summon, but again, I think even more important than that a lot of the time is just the simple fact that your opponent will not be able to, again, use those resources and save them for a follow-up turn. Whereas if you Shifter or see them in the draw phase, then, they just hold on to this stuff and do it later. So Unchained, it doesn't necessarily need stuff to get sent to the graveyard except for Sharvara, but a lot of the Unchained cards simply need to be destroyed to proc their effects. Now here, the Abominable Unchained Soul does actually end up destroying the Zeus. I'll definitely, of course, go ahead and board wipe in response. Opponent's going to try to recover with a triple attack. We have an Ash Blossom for that, and then they'll pass back over to us. Now, here we did manage to top deck a Tenki. This is a reason why I like 3 Tenki, and then they have the Ash Blossom anyway, but of course we have our own triple attack as well. This is a lot of the reason why I like 3 Tenki, as in addition to 3 Zoodiac Barrage. It might seem like overkill, but there are a lot of game states where you'll end up controlling your opponent down and just needing to top deck plays. This was actually one of them, right? I would have loved to have top decked a Zoodiac monster to then actually, have some amount of board presence. Here we have enough hand traps so that I think we'll be fine. So again, it might seem a bit weird to play 3 Tenki and 3 Barrage, but I think it's warranted. In fact, I honestly think we probably need maybe even another Zoodiac name or possibly a Kashtira name. But in any case, we've already used our Zeus, so I'm going to go into Vespanado to get in a solid amount of damage here against the opponent. Again, we still have C, Mourner, and Nib, so if they have some shenanigans, we can definitely respond in turn with any one of those. They don't, so they're just going to pass back over to us, draw the Rise Heart, or rather, just Rise Heart, move to battle phase, and that is enough damage to finish off our opponent. So, again, this is how a lot of duels with this deck will end up going. You don't have these like big flashy combos or finishes. It's a very control-y, grindy kind of a deck without necessarily having to rely on setting a lot of face down cards. Again, as you saw here, we often just rely on holding a bunch of hand traps and utilizing those against our opponent. So I got a couple more games to watch. Let's see the next one. Alright, this next game is going to be against a Pure Cassura deck. So little bit of a mirror match, more of a mirror match in concept than actual list, right? I mean, we are both playing Kashtira monsters, but we also aim for somewhat similar strategies. I'm just playing more of a controlling deck than my opponent. Opponent's going to draw phase Maxi, which is completely fine. Definitely sets me up with the information that they have that already. So, like I was talking about last game, I can play accordingly, right? I'm going to use my Thoroughblade to cycle the Ram into another card. It's Theosis, which is not great, but at least we didn't top deck it when we needed to get a better draw later. I will give them one draw to go into Dryden here. I think that's fine, but I'm not going to give them any more than that. Here they're going to summon the Unicorn. I opted not to use the Ghost Warner here. Instead, I wanted to save it for potentially the Fenrir off the Theosis, but then they Fenrired off of Birth instead, which definitely made things more awkward until they went for Era anyway. So here I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm just going to Ghost Warner the Era like I was originally planning to. I think my opponent could have played that better for sure, but at the same time, I kind of don't necessarily fault them for doing it the way they did. So here's the thing, though. Even though Era is negated, they can still summon the Rise Heart off of just Rise Heart and nothing else, right? So here I'm going to use the Trident to pop the opponent's Kashtira Rise Heart. So I am also, this is a misplay here. I thought that by attaching Whiptail, I would get to banish the Fenrir, but I failed to consider that Fenrir just does a new battle anyway. Like it doesn't count as a battle with the monster because Fenrir banishes it and then redeclares anyway. So although I did pop the Rise Heart, they are just able to bring it back with the Kashtira Birth and slap the Rise Heart on top of it. It does not need to be level 7. You just need to have a Rise Heart rather, or a Kashtira monster and have successfully activated, not resolved, but activated Era, right? So opponent's got Fenrir Ogre and a Rise Heart as well as the Era. Things are looking pretty dire for me, but I'm just gonna go Borbo into Ram and just go for it here, right? Just go for the Zeus. And I did not expect this to resolve. I was a little surprised when it did. To be fair, the Ram does offer trap card protection for the Zoodiac Xyz monster that it's attached to. So if my opponent's face down was Imperm, it wouldn't be able to... Yeah, I guess it was Forbidden Lance anyway. So they know their board's about to get wiped here. Also, by doing it this way, right, I'm not, like, I'm not banishing any of my cards. They're not getting sent to the banish pile, so it's not proccing the Rise Heart, which means it won't get up to 3 materials to stop me from doing this, right? And finally, while Era does normally have some destruction protection, the Zeus, of course, sends, it doesn't destroy, so we're all good there. Also setting Imperm, that might look a little weird. You may be thinking, well, Hex, isn't your Zeus just going to wipe the Imperm? No, I think Imperm is great to set alongside a Zeus for a couple of reasons. You could be in a situation like this where your opponent starts off with a play, you use the Imperm to stop it, and you don't necessarily have to commit the Zeus, right? Now, here I am going to Zeus, now they have another body on the board, but On top of that, like that last game we saw, right, against Unchained, where our opponent was able to use the Abominable Unchained Soul to pop the Zeus, if I had had Imperm set, I would have been able to board wipe and also still keep my Zeus by negating the Abominable Unchained Soul. So, again, it might seem weird to set Imperm while you have a Zeus up, but I think it's the right play pretty much every single time for multiple reasons. We have one last game we're going to watch, so let's go ahead and just see that one here. And our final opponent is going to be on Rescue Ace, so getting in a nice last game here against one of the best decks of the format right now. And probably after the ban list as well. We're going to be going second, opening both Mourner and Imperm, as if we're not too shabby. I think, though, if I remember right, yeah, this is another game where my opponent just kind of sets a monster and passes. So, you know, I will say there were a couple of less than stellar openings from our opponents here in that regard. But again, you know, of all decks in Yu-Gi-Oh!, this is one of the ones that can kind of least take advantage of the opponent having a slow opening like that, because everything my deck does is slow. Also note that I did not even go into Dryden here. So during the last game, under Maxi, I was like, you know what, I'll give them one draw to make Dryden. That seems worth it. Here, I didn't do that. The reason why I didn't do it here is because my opponent already went first, and by setting a monster and a spell trap and doing nothing else in passing, essentially told me that their hand was dead, right? That they did not have live plays that they could really go off on. So the fact that they maxied me so quickly during the draw phase tells me they're really desperate to get a draw for some plays here. But I think they should have waited for me to at least summon the Thoroughblade. In either situation, though, I'm not going to give them any draws. If I know my opponent has bricked, then I'm just going to not do anything under Maxi, let them have to hard draw. And again, as you can see, here they had to go to end phase without making a single play, not even setting another card. So I'm already very glad I did not give them draws off of that Maxi during my last turn there. Okay, gonna draw phase, and here's another draw phase Maxi. But with the Unicorn here, I can just use Birth to normal summon it. And again, I'm not going to make any further plays as far as Theosis or overlaying Zoodiac monsters. I'm going to start ripping cards from my opponent's extra deck, like the Auroradon there, to stop that line. Although, to be fair, we already hit O-Lion, so there's a decent shot they wouldn't be able to do that line anyway. But it's also a decent shot they're playing 2 O-Lion, so I figured I'd just play it safe. Now here they're going to use the Bonfire for the Poplar. We do the Imperm set, as well as 2 Mourners in hand. So when the Poplar is summoned, I am going to activate Unicorn and then use Mourner. Mourner is an if, not a when, so you don't have to chain it directly to the card. You can do something like Unicorn first, right? Alright, so Unicorn, yeah, they don't even resolve the chain link out here. They're just going to end up conceding. So yeah, I mean, that's a lot of why I don't like playing under Maxi in certain situations. Sometimes if I have the attack, I'll just go for the game anyway if I think I can play through a Nibiru and win the duel that turn. But in this situation where I know I'm playing a slow deck that doesn't win right away, and I know my opponent's hand is so bad they had to set a monster and a spell trap and pass, let's not give them any outs to potentially draw into. I'm just going to go ahead and just not summon whatsoever. But that'll end up doing it for this game. Thank you everybody so very much for watching this video. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.